We have been waiting for some guidelines from the CDC about what vaccinated people can now do in this country, and we're getting them. Let's get to Meg Terrell.
Hey there, some very highly anticipated guidance coming from CDC for the fully vaccinated. Gotta have the lead here for grandparents. If grandparents are fully vaccinated, the CDC now saying they can see their healthy children and grandchildren, even if they're not vaccinated, without wearing masks and physical distancing. So here are the guidelines. If you are fully vaccinated, you can visit with fully vaccinated people indoors without masks or distancing. And as we were saying in the example for grandparents, you can visit with low-risk unvaccinated people from a single household, also without masks or distancing. They also say that you don't have to quarantine or get tested after exposure if you're asymptomatic, if you're fully vaccinated. Now, they are still saying that based on rates of spread right now and the vaccination rates, they are still asking people to wear masks and distance when they're with people from multiple households who aren't vaccinated, still asking people to avoid medium and large-sized in-person gatherings. And if you are experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, even if you've been vaccinated, you should still get tested and isolate, get tested if appropriate. Now, guys, what does it mean to be fully vaccinated? They are saying 2 weeks after you get a Pfizer or Moderna second dose or 2 weeks after your one J&J shot. Guys, I think a lot of grandparents out there are going to be pretty excited about these guidelines, but we'll be waiting to see what other debates come about them today, which there are sure to be many of. Carl?
More U.S. states are easing coronavirus restrictions as health experts warn the fight isn't over yet. A statewide mask mandate will be lifted in Texas Wednesday, and businesses are set to reopen at 100% capacity. In New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced public high schools will resume in-person learning later this month. But there are mounting concerns. Restrictions are being lifted too quickly and could trigger another surge. There are now more than 29 million confirmed cases in the U.S., and more than 527,000 people have died. But on the vaccine front, the U.S. is averaging more than 2 million shots a day. More than 61 million people have received at least one dose. Over 32 million are fully vaccinated. Jonathan Vigliotti begins our coverage in Los Angeles.
Tonight, there may be trouble in Texas. The state set to reopen tomorrow. All businesses, including restaurants, able to operate at 100% capacity.
No more 6 people in the store waiting in a line outside. So silly. Done.
Well, as immunization efforts ramp up around the world, some countries are considering implementing systems which would require people to show proof of inoculation before accessing certain facilities. A so-called vaccine passport program. It's already in place in Israel. Roxana Saberi is reporting on this from London. So, Roxana, I imagine that a program like this has some pros and some cons.
It does, Anne-Marie. Supporters say it could help lift lockdowns in cities like London. You get a shot, then you get a digital pass on your phone, and then you can get into restaurants and pubs. But critics warn of the potential pitfalls over privacy and more. Israelis must now scan in to get in to gyms, hotels, even concerts like this.
It is all set in the telephone. It's very convenient.
For more than 3 million Israelis and counting, this is the ticket back to some kind of normalcy.
Finally, all the way in the car, I sang back to life, back to reality.
The government-issued Green Pass shows personal details and proves they've had 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine. Now countries across Europe and beyond are considering similar so-called vaccine passports or immunity certificates to inject life back into a flagging tourism industry and revive businesses and hospitality, like pubs. The UK is studying whether to introduce vaccine certificates, raising the possibility that Brits could soon need a passport for a pint.
Yep, all good.
We haven't had stuff like this before. We've never thought in terms of having something that you have to show to go to a pub or a theatre. And so there are deep and complex issues that we need to explore.
Issues like potential discrimination against people who don't want a shot, along with those who can't get one for medical reasons or because there's not enough supply.
So these people won't be able to participate in life, in public life, in social life, in economic life in the same way as their counterparts who have been vaccinated.
Claire Wenham from the London School of Economics says data privacy is another concern.
Is it going to be something that's digital and tracks you? And that obviously opens a whole different range of conversations about, security of your data, for example.
So government shouldn't rush it.
Government shouldn't rush it. I think it's a Pandora's box, and I think it's a slippery slope into, having life being governed by your health status.
But as governments debate immunity certificates, businesses are pushing ahead. Some cruises and airlines, for instance, say they'll require proof of inoculation to board. So while these passes are raising tricky ethical questions, you may need one to travel as early as this year.